Columbia's nickname is famously hot, and that's definitely not a joke. July runs over 90 degrees almost every single day, with humidity that pushes the heat index way past 100 degrees. If you're moving here, this is the #1 thing that will shape how happy you'll be long term. I'm about to share 7 insider realities, things most people don't find out until after they move in. One in particular that locals rely on to survive the summer. So here's the deal. Columbia summers don't mess around. We're talking May all the way through mid-September. July sits at about 95 degrees almost every single day. I remember one August where we had 17 days over 100 degrees. And that's before you throw in the humidity, which is why we're filming at the pool this week. By September, humidity averages around 75%. Even in afternoons that are supposed to feel low, still hang between 54 and 67%. What does that mean? Over 80 days above 90 degrees every year, and the heat index, it loves to creep past 105. And just like we'll talk about later with festival weekends, being close to water is everything. Downtown pavement gets so hot it literally shimmers. Now you might think, okay, that doesn't sound so bad, but trust me, your air conditioner isn't a nice to have here. It's survival. Summer power bills climb fast, and working out outside feels like trying to train inside a sauna. In fact, I'm a runner, so I make sure I'm always out there before the sun even comes up each day. Here's the trick locals know. Lake Murray isn't just a pretty weekend spot with 50,000 acres and 650 miles of shoreline. It's the escape hatch when the city starts baking. And the Riverwalk trails in West Columbia and Casey are the same way. Those shady paths right by the water turn into lifelines when it's too hot to do anything else. So if you're shopping for a house, don't overlook this. Being near Lake Murray or the rivers doesn't just look nice, it makes life here way more comfortable when the summer heat hits hard. That's only part of the story. There's another factor that totally changes Columbia's rhythm, and it's the 35,000 University of South Carolina students. When they come and go, entire neighborhoods shift in ways you wouldn't believe. All right, before we jump into how USC changes this city, let me introduce myself. I'm Brent Downing with the Downing Group at Keller Williams. For almost 2 decades now, we've helped hundreds of families relocate to the Columbia area. If this video is helping you out, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button down below. On this channel, you'll find insider tips on Columbia neighborhoods, Lake Murray living, and market updates you won't see anywhere else. Columbia moves to its own rhythm, and USC sets the beat. Once those 35,000 students head home in December, the city slows down until classes start again. It's more than just a small college town thing. It's a full reset that shapes everything. Traffic, business, and even the feel of your neighborhood. The school calendar sets the pace. Between semesters, traffic clears up fast. Parking downtown goes from nightmare to manageable almost overnight. Restaurants see sales jump when students return, then dip again when they leave. You see this play out in 5 points. It's the heart of student life, and housing prices reflect that. Homes here a typical student might occupy will run in the low 200s, while there are other homes close by that can run up into the high 6 figures because of their location. 5 points in the Vista, the main nightlife districts, live on student energy. When USC's out for summer or winter, the streets feel empty. Once students come back, the vibe shoots back up to go full blast. Game days are a whole other story. Williams-Brice Stadium holds over 77,000 fans, and big rivalry games against Clemson or Georgia draw a packed house. Those days turn Columbia into one giant tailgate. And if you live nearby, Saturday mornings get loud. Parking fills up, streets close. Neighbors find cars crammed along every curb as visitors look for a spot. Even family-focused areas like Shandon feel USC's pull. The school year creates predictable cycles that ripple through traffic, home values, and local business. So here's the big question. How do you choose the right area when USC's impact changes so much of the city? Well, Columbia actually gives you 2 very different lifestyle options, and the difference between them is pretty surprising. All right, now let's talk about the personality differences in Columbia's neighborhoods and why they matter so much when you're picking the right spot. Columbia really gives you 2 lifestyles, but if you don't know the area, it's easy to miss that you've got to pick one. Here's the deal. On one side, you've got the historic urban core. On the other hand, you've got the suburbs. The difference couldn't be bigger. You can't have both, so you've got to figure out which one fits you best. Take Elmwood Park, for example. It's got that old school charm, historic homes, big trees, streets you can actually walk. You can head over to Main Street for dinner or catch an event without getting in the car. Homes here run from the low 300s up into the high six figures. The area is packed pretty tight, around 2,500 to 4,000 people per square mile, and the median age is just 27. And living here is a whole different commute compared to the suburbs. And yeah, you'll hear your locals talk about Malfunction Junction. We'll get to that in a minute. That younger vibe in Elmwood, it comes from being able to walk places and stay plugged into downtown without jumping in the car for everything. Now flip it to the suburbs. Lexington feels like a master plan community. Median price is around $300,000. You get more house for the money and easy access to Lake Murray. Irmo sits closer to $280,000. It's the most affordable way to live near the lake. Median income there is about $85,000. And families love it for the neighborhoods, boat ramps, and all the water fun. Then there's Blythewood. The median home price is around $340,000. This is the luxury suburban option. Horse country, big lots, plenty of space. The median income is a little higher, around $105,000 as well. You get that rural feel while still staying tied to Columbia, and it's only an hour from Charlotte. Here's the hard part no one really says out loud. You can't have it all. You can't get cheap prices, great amenities, and a short commute at the same time. Elmwood Park gives you the walkability and city energy, but less space and a higher cost per square foot. The suburbs give you more house and closer proximity to Lake Murray, but you can be driving a lot more and spending more time in traffic. Each spot draws in different people with different priorities, and that's what creates the personality of the community. Everything from school events to how folks spend their weekends. Speaking of personality, Columbia's food scene has been blowing up. Different districts now each have their own vibe, and most newcomers don't expect that from a mid-sized southern city. Now let's talk about food. Columbia's scene isn't what it used to be, and some neighborhoods give you way better access to the city's 3 dining districts. Columbia's food scene is moving past its old reputation faster than most people realize. Not long ago, folks brushed off Columbia dining, but that's not the case anymore. Big restaurant openings are showing a clear shift in taste. The Hollow brought a forest-to-table concept that rivals Charleston's best spots. Dragon Room raised the bar for Pan-Asian food, pulling in diners from all over the region. Then, Prohibition opened downtown after starting as a cocktail spot in Charleston. And I'll tell you this, when Charleston restaurants expand here, you know the market has shifted. And of course, there's my old favorite, Hall's Chop House, across from the State House on the corner of Gervais and Main Street. The steaks and sides there are so good. Lobster ravioli, think creamed corn, think big, thick, juicy steaks. Now, enjoying these restaurants depends a lot on traffic and commute times. Here in Lexington, getting downtown at peak hours can be a challenge. Hang tight, we're coming back to that. For now, here's the big picture. Columbia has 3 main dining districts, each with its own style. Main Street leans upscale and the place for clients for special occasions. The Vista is chef-driven, creative, and all about quality. And Divine Street gives families great food without downtown prices or parking hassles. Even as things evolve, Columbia still celebrates its classics. That mustard-based barbecue isn't going anywhere. It's still a signature that sets us apart from the rest of the Carolinas. And if you haven't tried it, you must. I won't go back, I promise. And pimento cheese, you'll find it everywhere, from casual lunch spots to high-end dinner menus. What's exciting is how new restaurants mix tradition with fresh ideas. The 2024-2025 openings prove we're attracting chefs who see Columbia's potential. And even Whataburger's arrival on Divine Street made waves. Sure, it's a chain, but when national brands pick Columbia, it shows real growth and buying power. You can also see the change in 5 Points. Student bars and hangouts are giving way to places that draw families and young professionals with more spending power. Now let's shift to something that affects whether you can actually enjoy all these food options. Columbia's unique traffic patterns. Knowing those patterns matters for your daily commute and for your overall quality of life. And there's one traffic spot that deserves a special mention. Locals call it Malfunction Junction, and it can absolutely make or break your daily commute. Here's the deal. Traffic here only gets rough during 2 main windows. In the morning from 7:30 to around 9:30, and evenings from around 4 to around 6:30. Outside of that, Columbia traffic is usually pretty manageable. Locals are spoiled when they complain about it too. They forget how utterly miserable the traffic is in places like Atlanta, DC, Chicago, and even in nearby Charlotte. Malfunction Junction is what we call the I-20 and I-26 interchange. It's where several highways come together, and it's the biggest choke point in the city. If your route runs through there at rush hour, you'll end up planning your life around it. Long term, the good news is that area is being addressed with lots of new highways over the next several years. Bad news? That means construction delays. And then you've got big festivals and, of course, Gamecock football weekends. Those can flip traffic patterns upside down, sometimes for days. Northeast Columbia takes the longest hit with average commutes at around 32 minutes. Not just because of distance, but because of how traffic stacks up on the highway system. I-77 can get pretty hairy up near Blythewood, so you need to pay attention to that. Now here's a reality check. GPS might tell you that Lexington to downtown takes 16 to 18 minutes, and if that's true, you're driving off peak. But at rush hour, that same trip can stretch to 30 or 40 minutes. I always tell clients ignore that 18-minute commute if you work a normal 8 to 5. School pickup lines add another wrinkle between 2 and 3:30 in the afternoon. Even if you don't have kids, those zones still slow you down. Parking downtown? About $1.50 an hour at meters, and good news is they're usually pay by phone nowadays, with garages maxing out at around $10 a day. Not bad compared to bigger cities, but it's still something to factor into your daily routine. So bottom line, Columbia traffic is manageable if you've got some flexibility. Shift your hours a bit and you're fine. But if you're stuck with peak times and live in the wrong spot, you'll spend a lot of time sitting in traffic and getting frustrated. And speaking of quality of life, there's one more factor that shapes Columbia even more than traffic: water access. And around here, it's not just about fun. It's a survival in the summer heat, which brings us to the lakes. Around here, water is how we get through those brutal summers. Whether you have a pool like this, or you're on Lake Murray in a great boat. It's a big driver of property values too. In Columbia, being close to water goes way beyond luxury. It's a part of everyday life. Lake Murray is the big player. 50,000 acres, 650 miles of shoreline, and water levels kept steady most of the year. That means the lake's ready for you year-round, whether it's boating, fishing, or just sitting on the dock. It also means those waterfront homes keep their value. No moving docks in or out depending on lake levels like they do at Lake Hartwell north of here, or at Lake Lanier over in Georgia. Our rivers give you something different as well. The Saluda has rapids, class 2 to class 4, that run right into downtown. You can kayak or tube from the suburbs straight into the city. The Congaree has 50 miles of blue trail, and with sandbars where you can camp. And the Broad River gives you more of that rugged family-style camping. Now, water access shows up in prices too. Chapin lakefront homes start around the 400, 500,000, but they can go up into the millions and are averaging around 830,000. Don't be fooled though, those prices can run up into the millions for luxury homes on the lake with big water views. When summer hits, water becomes survival. When it's too hot to run or bike, you can still paddle, swim, or fish. The rivers stay cooler than the air, and that moving water feels like natural AC. East Beach in Lexington is proof of how much people chase the water. It runs on $5 reservations and fills up quickly in summer. Public access spots? Packed, because everyone's looking for relief. If you're buying lakefront, just know the rules. Dock permits, they run around $100, I think. You'll need at least 100 feet of water frontage if you're going to build and want a dock on your property. Plus, plan for flood insurance if any part of the home structure is in what we call the 362. Long story that I'll save for another video. And when you don't feel like braving the lake, the Three Rivers Greenway gives you shaded trails right along the water. Perfect for a walk, bike ride, or just cooling off. Next up, let's wrap up with something most newcomers never see coming: Columbia's festival and sports culture. This city runs on a social calendar that transforms neighborhoods all year long. If you don't understand that rhythm, you could end up in the wrong spot. Think of it as a boom and bust cycle. One weekend, your neighborhood is calm and quiet. The next, it's packed with festivals, football traffic, and street parties. Depending on your lifestyle, that rhythm will either feel like a perk or a problem. Here's how it works. Big events bring huge crowds and energy. Then the city quiets down again until the next one. Take St. Pat's in 5 Points every March. It pulls anywhere from 26 to 45,000 people every year. The most recent event pumped over $12 million into the local economy. But if you live close by, your quiet block suddenly turns into a giant street party. Parking disappears, the noise cranks up, and people spill into the side streets. We've also got Soda City Market, our weekly tradition. Every Saturday morning, more than 200 vendors set up on Main Street, and 7,000 to 10,000 people come out. It's a great community vibe, but it also changes downtown traffic and parking every Saturday morning. And of course, don't forget the State Fair. 2 full weeks every fall. Rosewood Drive and Assembly Street and Bluff Road get clogged with fair traffic and parking spillover. So the thing is, when you buy a home in Columbia, you're not just buying our 4 walls. You're buying into this festival rhythm. Your neighborhood will swing between calm stretches and high energy weekends. Some people love it. They feed off the energy, the community, the sense of celebration. Others not so much. If you work from home or crave quiet routines, the disruptions can get old fast. Put this together with everything else we've talked about, and you'll start to see Columbia's true personality. The trade-offs you'll want to think through before you decide which neighborhood is the best for you. So if you're serious about finding your spot in Columbia, we'd love to help. Send me an email at brentd@thedowningteam.com. We'll figure out which Columbia neighborhood fits you best. Once we know what's important to you, we'll know which neighborhoods may be the best fit for you. The market's moving fast, and these lifestyle choices are getting harder to find. Now, since we've talked so much about Lake Murray as your summer survival tool here, you're probably wondering, can I actually afford to live on the lake? Click the video on screen and I'll take you inside the Columbia area lake community that's quietly outpacing other luxury lake markets in South Carolina. You'll see why smart buyers are moving fast before the best spots disappear. Have a great week, folks.